Hello and welcome to the UCF Podcast. Predictions for UFC 304, Leon Edwards versus Bilal. Remember the name Muhammad. Let's get into it. All right, so our main event, the top of the card, Leon Rocky Edwards versus Bilal. Remember the name Muhammad. This is the second time these two guys have fought. The first time ended in a no contest because Leon Edwards wanted to know what the back of Bilal Muhammad's eyeball felt like.
Yeah.
And poked his finger so far in his eye, it was an immediate end to the fight. Bilal fell to the ground, screaming, genuinely in pain, because a fingernail had just run across the inside of his eyelid.
He was just doing like an eye checkup.
That's how far. I'll make sure to have like a still of the eye poke up right now so you can see just how bad it was. That's what stopped the first fight. That was in the start of round number 2. Round number 1 was all Leon Edwards. But does that mean he's going to win the rematch?
Yeah.
What have these two guys been doing since
it actually
then?
does.
I mean, to cut to the chase, yes, it does mean that, because Leon Edwards has already dealt with a better wrestler in Kamaru Usman, knocked him out, dealt with that takedown threat all throughout the second fight, still got the win. Then he took on Colby Covington, another wrestler, just beat the shit out of him for 5 rounds. And Colby didn't do just about anything, right? I'm not saying Bilal is going to look like that. But what I'm saying is that Leon Edwards has been getting money. He's been making money and getting paid to beat the shit out of wrestlers for the past 3 years. And he's getting pretty good at it.
Yeah. And I think we can all appreciate a guy that beats the shit out of wrestlers. I think we've all watched one too many boring wrestling fights and have been like, man, I kind of wish some guy would just clean these dudes' clocks. And Leon Edwards has been doing that recently. And I think he's just going to keep doing it. He's been looking good. He's looking strong. I don't know, man. I think this is going to be maybe not the easiest defense of all time, but I could see this being a KO.
I really hope it is. I don't like Bilal Muhammad. He's a divisive figure because some guys really do like him. His personality is very nice. He does a lot of like fan interaction stuff. He's going around to train at different gyms. He went out to go train with Khabib and all the Dagestani guys at one point ahead of one of his previous fights. But when he gets into the cage, I hate watching him fight. Yes, he did get a TKO win over Sean Brady. Yes, he was able to smother Wonder Boy and Gilbert Burns, but these are all like old guys or dudes that are getting pushed a little bit too soon. And Leon Edwards, on the other hand, has been dealing with the top of the division. Welterweight's been kind of boring for me for a little while. Everyone's just waiting for Shavkat Rakhmonov to actually get another fight. We don't know if he's not signing contracts. We don't know if he's, having visa issues, whatever. Not the point. The point is, I really don't think Bilal Muhammad has a chance. I think he's slower. I think he might be a little bit stronger, but that's just not going to matter because Leon is 2 steps ahead of him the whole way. We're both picking Leon.
I think Bilal Muhammad sucks.
Whoa! Nah, he's not
cut
that bad.
No, cut that. He's number 2. I can't say that. No, he's pretty good, honestly. But I do think Edwards will win.
Moving into our co-main event. Part of me wishes this was the main event because it's a more exciting fight.
Yeah, but it's an interim. It's an interim belt. That's different.
It is, yeah. Well, it should be for the real heavyweight championship.
I can't wait for the interim belt to just become like a permanent fixture because like the real belt, it just is like in limbo forever.
I mean, some divisions got into those spots for like 1 or 2 years. The heavyweight's there right now. So this is another rematch. This is another rematch of a fight that ended very quickly. Tom Aspinall exploded his knee in the very start of their first fight. So Curtis Blades gets the win by TKO because he followed Tom to the mat. And then when the ref stopped it, he was trying to punch him.
Because he blew it up with his mind.
Yeah, he used telekinetic psychic powers to explode Tom Aspinall's knee.
And I think the ref should have taken a point away, but...
Well, I mean, the fight was over.
I guess. I mean, but still, just the principle of the thing.
Anyways, I am right off the bat going to tell you guys, I'm picking the underdog on this one. I'm picking Curtis Blades to beat Tom Aspinall and do it for real this time. Now,
this podcaster.
Why do I think Curtis Blades is going to do it? I have a couple of reasons. The first reason is that Curtis Blades is longer and stronger than Tom Aspinall. He has a wider wingspan, and he's just physically stronger. He might be a little bit slower, but I don't think by a lot. And the really important thing in my mind to remember is that Tom Aspinall lives and dies by his speed. And there's been times when he could not get a guy out of there. with his punches. And if he has to start to rely on his grappling to try to deal with Curtis Blades, I think he's in trouble. Now, the way that he dealt with Sergey Pavlovich was astounding. He caught Sergey and put him to bed in one round. But I can think of his fight against oh goodness gracious. I'm gonna have to cut this part as I quickly look up this dude's name.
No.
I
Quick,
drank
say
too
a slur.
My memory is terrible. Yeah, Arlovsky, sorry. Against Andrei Arlovsky, Tom Aspinall had to resort to his grappling because he was getting tired. He thought he had Andre hurt. He unloaded on him, had a big adrenaline dump, and then realized, oh shit, I'm tired. So then he took Andre down and submitted him, which was the right thing to do. It's just you don't have that sort of an option in a fight against Curtis Blades. Now, what is Curtis Blades going to try to do to Tom Aspinall? Well, for one, at range, he's going to use really strong, straight punches. Curtis is actually really good at timing up a counter right hand. And his fight name is Razor Blades because he has those elbows that he loves to slice dudes open with. And the way that he's going to do that is by getting the takedown and getting his ground and pound going. When Curtis Blades starts to throw ground and pound, the fight is over, plain and simple. So that all having been said, man, I think Curtis Blades just has way too good of a shot, and I think he's going to get this one done. I don't think this one goes all 5 rounds. I think Tom Aspinall's probably getting knocked out, either on the feet or in a grappling exchange.
Damn. It's pretty harsh appraisal, man. He's got 100% takedown accuracy. You see that? 100% takedown defense? Doesn't means nothing to you?
Well, because Curtis Blades has not yet tried to take him down.
Oh, yeah?
Look, I think only decent wrestler in this whole division. I'm willing to say it.
My opinion probably is the very generic opinion that Tom Aspinall is probably just going to knock him the fuck out right on the feet. He's probably not going to get a serious opportunity to do a lot of wrestling. It won't end round 1. I'd be kind of shocked if you see a round 1 knockout here. Probably give me like a round 2 or 3. Blades is going to get a little tired. That little more slowness is going to get a little more slower. And he's just going to get clocked with something, an uppercut, a straight punch, whatever it's going to be. It's going to rock him, and then we can just watch the cleanup. And it'll be great, and I'll say him, and I'll like be yelling and screaming in my chair. But I'm looking forward to that.
You're gonna be screaming and crying, lamenting.
No, dude, no.
Knocks out Tom Aspinall.
Listen, I don't think it's going to be a knockout. You know what I mean? Like a knockout? Like, come on, it's not going to be a knockout, dude. He's going to win by submission. Look at those odds. Bet on that right now. It's plus 2,500. Yeah. I'm just saying. No. If it is going to be knockout for Blades, I honestly think it will be like a ground and pound scenario, which is probably the most likely scenario that he wins. But I don't know. I'm not convinced that Blades has the ability to control Aspinall. I think Aspinall's just got that little bit of an edge, unless Blades just leg kicks him and his fucking knee goes again, which I'll admit is entirely possible. Yeah, I'm going to go with Aspinall. Francis sucks. Well-known knowledge.
Clark is a fool. Anyways, moving on down the card, we have. Hold up, what happened to Bobby Green?
Wait, yeah, where's Bobby Green?
Like a lot like Bobby Green. Isn't that weird?
Clones?
So newly name changed King Green versus Patty the Batty Pimblett. Does this mean Bobby Green needs a new ring name because his former ring name is now his actual name?
Actually, it's kind of
don't have answers to.
I don't know. But what if he goes in and it's like Bobby, like, you know, like that's his nickname.
King Bobby Green. That'd be funny, actually.
That would be funny.
That would be the only way to turn this into a not delusional move. But while Bobby Green is undoubtedly delusional, Patty Pimblett is both delusional and arrogant, which is just a dangerous combination. I've watched an interview with Patty recently, like within the last week, and he's talking about how people are really underrating his power, and he didn't believe he used to have power, but now, you know, his coaches are really hyping it up that he has power in his punches. That sounds like a great way for a grappler to get knocked out by Bobby Green. I'm going to actually pick Bobby Green on this one. I don't know that he's going to knock out Patty Pimblett, but Patty Pimblett just his last 2 fights, one is a win, but not actually, where he got a robbery against Jared Gordon that everyone and their mom knows Patty Pimblett actually lost. And then he fought the ghost of Tony Ferguson and got a win and wants to make that into a really big deal instead of just taking the gimme win that he was handed. Okay. And that's why I say he's not just delusional, he's arrogant. Is he's saying, well, actually, maybe I'm the one with the power in a fight against Bobby Green. How about you focus on what you're good at, Patty Pimblett? Unless I'm completely misreading him in these interviews, which I don't think I am.
I mean, the UFC guys just say stupid shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I honestly just don't believe him. Like, he's probably playing it up a little bit. But
Patty's
like
been saying a lot of stupid shit about stuff that I watched with my own eyes.
he's probably just gonna do submission shit again. Like I don't think he's just gonna do like a stand up.
Again, no, because that's how he lost to Jared Gordon, was by fighting him on the feet.
Yeah, so like
Patty is that dumb.
I mean, he's got a couple submissions. I feel like, I mean, maybe he's stupid. Maybe his coaches are stupid. Maybe everyone's stupid. But in my opinion, you're going to go into this fight and be like, well, I'm going to try to submit him. Right? He's probably got some stand-up game.
Yes.
That's what he's talking about. He's got, you got to get some stand-up game. Nothing wrong with that. But like, I don't think in this fight that he's going to sit there and stand up with King Green until he gets knocked out. You know what I mean? I think it's going to go to the ground.
Can't sit and stand at the same time.
Well, exactly, right? You got to pick one or the other. So I think he's going to take him down, and I think he's probably going to just submit him, or at the very least, control him and give us an incredibly boring fight that he wins by decision, and everyone hates him for it. But I think I just got to go with Pimblett on this one. I wouldn't be shocked if he loses, but I mean, look at those striking blue eyes. How can you say no to those?
Pretty easily, actually. We're splitting a lot of our picks already. This is going to make for an interesting night.
No, we're going to agree on the rest of them, I think.
Yeah, really? Okay, well, tell me all about Christian Leroy Duncan versus Gregory Rodriguez.
I mean, just look at that reach advantage for Leroy Duncan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
What else needs to be said? I mean, he's got more reach. This one was actually kind of hard for me to pick. I really wasn't certain. Rodriguez has always struck me as a guy that has like a decent amount of power for middleweight. This is not like he's not taking a lot of fights to decision necessarily. If he can knock you out, he will. And Duncan, I don't know. The thing is with Duncan, he's not a guy that gets knocked out. He has like a pretty decent chin. He's taken some significant strikes, and I feel like this is going to be one of those ones that goes to decision, and it's really going to be who can stay in there longer, who can put the pressure on longer, who can control the fight longer. And my kind of base instinct is that it's probably going to be Rodriguez, and maybe just almost only based on the experience alone that he has in the octagon. That might just be the edge that gives him it. I don't think he's going to knock out Duncan, but I think that he could sit there in the ring with him for every round and win most of those rounds and come out on top. I don't know. What do you think?
I am in agreement on who we're picking. I have to pick RoboCop, one of my favorite active fighters right now. I've just swapped over to our significant strike stats here. These guys have pretty much exactly the same strikes landed per minute. Percentage-wise, they're pretty close on, most of their strikes are significant strikes. The big difference here is that Gregory Rodriguez is eating almost a full 2 more strikes per minute than Leroy Duncan is. But that's because of the type of fight that Gregory Rodriguez forces on his opponents. He comes forward with a lot of very serious pressure, and he's not afraid to take a punch to give a punch. And while he has been stopped within the UFC, it's like only ever been against guys with freak power. And Christian Leroy Duncan hits pretty hard, but it's not because he has freak power. It's because he's setting up better shots at range. I think Gregory is going to push him up against the fence. I think he's going to have him in spots where he doesn't want to be exchanging punch for punch. And when you have to trade punch for punch against Gregory Rodriguez, 90% of the time you're getting fucked up. It's going to hurt, man. I don't know that this will be by knockout. Leroy actually has pretty good defense, but I am still picking Gregory Rodriguez.
Yeah, see, we agree on everything else now.
We'll just have to see.
We'll just have to see, man.
Before that, we have Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. This is a really fun fight. I'm looking forward to this one. Both of these guys, primarily strikers. Giga Chikadze, known for finishing people with body kicks. I don't think that's going to happen in this fight, but this is a great matchup. Now, I'm going to be picking Arnold Allen in this one, and for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that Arnold Allen has been looking really good at featherweight. His only real setback was against Max Holloway, and man, I'm not faulting anybody for losing to Max Holloway. And Giga Chikadze sure as shit ain't Max Holloway. So Arnold Allen is really good at applying pressure. He's fast and he hits hard. Giga's only chance is if he can keep this fight at kicking range, where he's going to be able to utilize his better one-shot technique. If he's able to keep it at kicking range and pepper Allen with low kicks, body kicks, big coming in straight punches, that would be really nice. But Arnold Allen is not the sort of guy to give you the time to set those things up. So I think this is pretty clearly going to be a win for Allen.
Yeah, my initial thoughts on this was, yeah, well, you lose to Holloway, but I mean, fuck, a lot of people have lost to Holloway. It doesn't really mean that much altogether. I think that is probably the only way that Giga's going to win this one. Keep a distance, keep kicks going, but I don't know. I feel like Allen has got the ability to get in there and deal with that. Now, there is something to be said about reach and height a little bit. Giga does have that advantage. He's taller, he's got more reach, he's obviously got a little bit more leg reach, and he's going to try to use that to his advantage. But I don't know. I'm not convinced that's going to be enough on the feet, right? This isn't going to be a finish with leg kicks to the body, at the very least. And so I got to go with Allen as well.
Yep. And I keep thinking of how badly Calvin Kattar beat the shit out of Giga Chikadze. And I think of Arnold Allen as being just genuinely better than Calvin Kattar, and not just because he beat him. So, yeah, pretty confident on this one.
Yeah, transitive property. UFC transitive property rules.
A little bit of MMA math, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Getting into our prelims, there's a lot of big underdogs on this card. This is not a spot where I'm going to be picking the underdog. Nathaniel Wood is pretty good. He's had some setbacks in the featherweight division, largely because he's so small, man. He's 5'6", fighting at 145. It's just tough to do that these days. Daniel Pineda, not that much bigger, and I'll tell you what, he has not been doing as well as Nathaniel Wood. He's never shown the same sort of technical knowledge that Nathaniel Wood has. Wood is setting up really interesting combinations. If he runs into trouble on the feet, he can take you down. He does have really good grappling as well. Daniel Pineda, really, if he can't knock you out, if he's not hurting you on the feet, maybe he can switch to his wrestling. But it hasn't been good enough, man. I think he's riding almost a 3-fight losing streak, if memory serves. So
no, you're wrong.
I'm wrong.
He lost like one fight.
Oh, okay.
You hate this guy, man.
Hold on, you're wrong.
I think I'm right. Pineda, I think he lost like last year.
He lost to Caceres. He beat Lutz. I believe he lost to Feely.
It says could not continue on my screen.
Oh, okay.
That's not a loss.
Round 2 could not continue. Well, still not good. And before that, he's losing to Cub Swanson. And I mean, like, that's the thing, right? His best win in the past 4 years is Lutz.
Yeah.
Not a good look.
No, I honestly, very little to add except for that Nathaniel Wood's nickname should be pretty good. Because then it could be Nathaniel Pretty Good Wood. Anyways, yeah, Wood's probably going to win this. I don't think it's going to be too much of a difficult fight for him. Pineda, I don't know, man. Just like you said, he just ain't that good. He's not really even one of those like win-lose guys. He's kind of just like that lose-win guy.
Yeah. If he loses, Daniel Pineda probably getting cut from the UFC, but oh well, he's supposed to. Dana
called you back?
It's a UK card, so they want the English people to win. And speaking of, is that Meatball Molly McCann? Why is she down on the prelims? Molly McCann is a very fun fighter. She is aggressive. She's not, frankly speaking, she's not that good. Okay.
No.
This is women's strawweight. They're just better fighters in this division than her. But yeah, she always brings the action. She famously has that spinning back fist knockout, which is so rare in the women's divisions. Lots of fun, always comes out dancing, celebrating with Patty Pimblett. Bruna Brazil just hasn't done anything all that impressive. And if you look at these odds, man, they have...
Oh, this guy listens to the odds.
Well, I'm just using it as an example to show
the
you
masses
things are at.
The collective
right now,
mind.
I'm just saying, if you can double your money on a bet, something's going on there. Also, if we're just looking at our striking statistics, Molly is doubling the output every single minute that Bruna Brazil is putting out there. She's also getting hit more, but she's defending 63% of the strikes she throws. And that absorbed number is kind of just like Gregory Rodriguez. It's because Molly pushes the action and she gets into a real fight.
Yeah.
I'm picking Molly. She's tough and rough, and I think she has this one.
Yeah, I got to go with Molly as well. Brazil is kind of just a timid fighter for some reason. I think she's fought 3 fights in the UFC and only won one of them. And arguably, if I recall correctly, that fight was a little bit of a robbery, went to decision, and it was kind of like he could have gone either way and it went unanimous for Brazil. But even in that fight, she doesn't throw that many punches, and it seems like she's always trying to get the perfect punch, the perfect strike, which is normally like a pretty reasonable thing to do, get your accuracy up. Better to throw, 1 punch than 3 if all 3 punches don't go anywhere. But it really just seems in general she doesn't throw a lot of punches, and then she loses by decision because it turns out you have to actually throw punches to win fights. It's shocking, I know, or at least try to submit someone, and she doesn't do either. Molly McCann's going to win, and that's going to be it. That's how the fight goes,
and that's a good thing.
And that's a good thing, folks. All
right, and moving down, we got Jake Hadley taking on Coglan Logran. That's a fun name to say. I got to say it. I'm going to be picking Coglan Logran. His only loss this far in the UFC is to Taylor Lapalus, who is the guy whose arms are as long as his legs. That's going to be a tough matchup for anyone in this bantamweight division, especially if you're a new guy coming in. Jake Hadley, on the other hand, he's good. Like, he is not to be slept on, but I just don't think he's good enough. I've seen him lose in this bantamweight division in ways that were really disappointing. Sometimes he just gets out-muscled. Sometimes he just gets outgunned. And Coglan Logran is a rather thick dude, quite heavily muscled. And I just don't think he's going to run into any trouble against Jake Hadley. I am, picking the underdog on this one. But, how can you bet against an Irishman fighting an Englishman? It's just their natural way to try to hurt English
the
people.
Obvious joke, but no, I completely agree. Honestly, I'm a little shocked he's the underdog. Maybe by Saturday he won't be, but I think it's just going to be an out-muscle scenario. Like you said, he looks a little stronger, and I think that's going to win him the fight.
It definitely has a good chance to. Another thing to consider, right? Just real quick. Both takedown average and takedown accuracy for Coglan Logran, I think he's going to be running right through Jake Hadley and putting his butt on the mat. I don't know that he'll finish the fight. I don't even know if we'll get any good ground and pound off, but expect to see Jake Hadley.
I would worry a little bit about ground game. Logran has never looked that good on the ground from what I remember. I don't know. I'd worry about the reversal or the striker just getting eaten up into an armbar or something like we've seen these past few weeks.
Possible. Just what I'm pointing out here, though, is that per 15 minutes, Coglan Logran is averaging 5 takedowns.
Yeah.
Which is 3 per round. And he's got 41% takedown accuracy, which means he's going to get 1 takedown a round. Just
MMA math, dude. We should be
really.
MMA professors, mathematics.
Moving on down to our first prelim before the early prelims. We have Modestas Bukauskas versus Marcin Prachnio. Prachnio is, for some reason, just barely the underdog, but Modestas Bukauskas gets knocked out all the time. And I believe Prachnio has 11 wins by KO. I'm making it that simple. I'm picking Martin Prachnio. Modestas Bukauskas, I've just seen him lose so many fights by just goofy KO. I'm not picking him, man.
I don't know. I struggle to pick with these guys. I'm I don't fucking know. They seem equally as kind of mediocre as one another, just in different ways. And it's kind of just picking which way, who's going to be more mediocre in this scenario. And I don't think that Prachnio has the power to knock out this guy. That's not to say that, I probably have the power to knock him out in the right circumstances, but I feel like if he can just set up good enough defense, it'll just go to decision and he'll win just by having more output in this kind of scenario. So I'm going to go with Modestas. I'll probably regret it, but that's kind of the vibe I'm getting right now.
Yeah, fair enough.
Oh, that pause? Cut that pause out.
No, I mean...
You cut that pause. I don't want to hear any half beats when I listen to this back.
Anyways, getting into our early prelims, our feature early prelim, Oban Elliott versus Preston Parsons. This is Oban's second UFC fight, I believe, and Preston Parsons' fifth. Parsons has won 2 and lost 2 in his UFC stint. Oban has only won 1 UFC fight so far.
100% win rate.
100% win rate. If we're looking at some significant strike numbers here, Oban is just better on the feet. He's got better defense. Pretty much the same portion of his strikes are significant, but he's landing almost a full extra shot per minute. And his absorbed per minute is again almost one.
Is this just UFC stats, by the way, or is this their whole MMA career?
This is just UFC stats.
Okay, I was going to say, isn't that, we have a really big sample size for Elliott. Is that fair?
Well, I mean, we only have 4 fights for Preston Parsons. It's not a huge sample size either.
4 times the amount of sample size?
Yes, that's true. The thing is, though, is that Preston Parsons isn't fighting a who's who of the welterweight best. So really, I'm counting these as being pretty representative for both of them because down at like this level, especially at like welterweight, you have a lot of guys who are kind of just your bog standard mixed martial arts guy. You don't have a lot of people coming in who were, karate world champions or Muay Thai guys or like when we get someone who was distinguished in another sport, we hear about it like Bo Nickel, this huge wrestling talent coming to the UFC. So these guys are really just bog standard UFC fighters. They're going to try to punch, they're going to try to kick, and until you see them do anything interesting, don't expect them to break the mold, if you will. So really, I think this is representative of what they're doing because they're all fighting kind of
Cope.
the same level of guy.
Fuck this podcaster. Fuck him. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to pick Elliot. I like him because he's Welsh, and you'll see a lot of Welsh fighters. And yeah.
No, fair enough. I was going to pick Oban Elliott as well.
Oh my God.
I was really
Can you stop copying me?
Well, I was just trying to set up the fact that, he was the better striker, and that's why I was picking him. But,
yeah.
By all means, continue to act.
No, I do. I honestly do think this. But I mean, Parsons does do submissions. He's just a grappler,
Yeah, I know, and I don't think it's going to make a difference.
Okay. I'm glad we agree.
Yeah, thanks. Moving on down.
Got funny little numbers on this one for some reason. Is that on your screen?
Interesting how we have the top 10 of the flyweight division just sitting down here on the early Fight Pass prelims. Mohamed Mokaev versus Manel Kopp. This one's interesting for a couple of reasons. First of all, Mohamed Mokaev, undefeated, very strong wrestler and grappler. If we're looking at how these guys are winning inside the UFC, probably notice that half of the wins for Mokaev are coming by submission, whereas Manel Kopp, he's got 58% of his wins coming by KO. This really is your wrestler striker matchup, and the big differentiating, the reason that I think Manel Kopp is going to be able to deal with the grappling of Mohamed Mokaev is because he's in the flyweight division. This is the grapplers division first and foremost. Everybody knows how to grapple. Manel Kopp has been having to deal with these guys. I remember when Pantoja fought Kopp and was able to mix in his striking with his wrestling and really just frustrate Kopp. Kopp is now on a 3-fight win streak, and he's beginning to deal with these guys a little bit better. And man, I think he's going to knock Mokaev out. I really do. I'm just getting the sense that that's how it's going to go down. So I'm going to be picking Manel Kopp.
Yeah. I mean, as everyone knows, by the time we get to the bottom of the early prelims, it rapidly becomes a vibe-based decision. But these guys do have numbers next to their names, so there's a little bit of intelligence going into these picks. I think earlier when you were like Mohamed Mokaev, it's like wrestling some of the best guys in the division or whatever, or like solid prospects. That's kind of why I'm going to pick him, because he's like good and he's done good things in the past. And so I think statistically he's most likely to win. Cap might knock him out. What's funny about Cap is that I think the only time he's lost before losing he's starting his little streak here, he lost to Pantoja, which, whatever. And then he lost to Nicolau, who I think is one of the other only like kind of boxing guys in the division. So I think you might have a point in his ability to be the boxer to defeat the grappler. But honestly, I don't know. I think it's a more reasonable decision to go with Mohamed Mokaev. And so I'm going to.
Wow, but I thought we were going to agree on everything.
We haven't agreed on things for a while now. Okay, well, now you're getting sassy, or you're going to get sassy now? That's what's going to happen.
Also besmirching my fine pick by saying it was vibe-based. How dare you?
Well, this guy just picks on vibes. Like, I look at the stats, and you like to talk about vibes. It's fine. It's fine.
Moving on down the card to Sam Patterson versus Kiefer Crosby. There's a couple of tells here.
These are just like two guys.
You're so wrong.
That you would find.
Sam Patterson is 6'3" at 170 pounds. That's pretty fucking lanky and tall. Sam Patterson also, 1, gets knocked out, and 2, gets submissions. So
wait, he's only had 2 fights, so which one was he which?
Well, I believe. Haha, you're so funny.
It's true though.
Only 2 fights in the UFC. Someone's not looking all the way through their record.
No, I'm not.
Anyways, so Kiefer Crosby has lost recently by submission. They're trying to set up a win for the Englishman against the Irishman. I'm reversing my logic earlier where I said an Irishman would beat an Englishman, because in this case, they've really just stacked the odds against Kiefer Crosby. I think Sam Patterson's going to win. I think he's going to win by submission. That's my pick.
Yeah, I think this one's pretty easy. This is the obvious, like, feeding the crowd because it's going to be in the UK. Let's feed you a win over an Irish guy. Patterson will win. It'll be by submission. Worst case scenario goes to decision, and he wins because he just controls him for the entire fight and punches him like 4 times.
Yep. Pretty simple. Moving on down, we got another English heavyweight on the card. Mick Parkin versus Lukasz Brzeski. Bresky's not very good. I've seen him lose to like Warles da Costa, who's also not very good. The bottom of the heavyweight division is really like a bargain bin of fat dudes willing to get punched in the face. Mick Parkins is going to win. He's undefeated. Lukasz Brzeski is just not that good. He's not very athletically talented. And he got really doughy when he came to the UFC. He was much more muscular before he got to American drug testing. So Mick Parkin by probably 3-round shitty decision fight.
Yep. The thing is, again, we just said it, right? This is an English guy. He's on the English card. They're setting him up. He's got a guy that's not really good. He's coming to the UFC and has kind of just sucked ass. And this guy's on a 3-win streak. I think we can all make a reasonable decision that he's going to win. Maybe we'll get an early heme, fingers crossed. But yeah, it's probably going to be decision.
All right, and moving down to our first fight of the whole day.
Women. We got a secret
Shauna Bannon
woman
versus Elise Adelaine. Yeah, so
hidden women. So for those of you who watch the whole podcast, congratulations, you got a little Easter egg. Bannon is the person who arguably got robbed in a decision by Brazil that we talked about earlier.
Whoa.
She didn't look very good in that fight. She threw a lot of punches, and not very many of them like hit anything important. She, I think, had like almost double the punches that Brazil did, but like less significant strikes. Accuracy was not great. Just kind of just flailing a little bit. I mean, you got to give her credit for throwing some punches, but yeah, I mean, she could have won that one by decision, and she didn't. I think I just have to go with Ardeline just because I've seen Bannon fight and she didn't look very good. Maybe Ardeline will look good. We don't know. She's mysterious.
She is a little bit of a mystery. A Romanian fighter coming in. I just have to say it, and no one watches this far anyways, so no one's going to hear it. Shauna Bannon looks busted. Now, besides that, swapping over to those significant strike
numbers. You can't say that shit.
Like you said, she may have been robbed in that fight, but like just off of her UFC fighting experience so far, she's got 37% defense for striking. So more than 60% of the shit her opponent threw hit her.
Right. Like it's just brawl. It was
her
a brawl.
Significant strikes, 37%. So the majority of what she's throwing doesn't even deal damage. Pretty safe pick with Alice Ardeline. Unless Shauna really, really, digs deep and finds that dog, if you will. I don't see her winning this fight.
Yeah,
so,
but just to say, we do love women, just to be clear.
Oh, of course. And hey, we got to the bottom of the card.
Oh, we made it.
These have been our picks for UFC 304. And never forget,
love women.
We love women.
It's going to be a big one. Tune in. Cancel your Saturday plans. Cancel your dates. No date nights. Sorry, wife.